Yeah, and they could still be living in that time. And like, I think that's always the grandest question is, right, where do we go when we die? Regardless of where you are religiously, everyone has that question. Yeah. And I think thinking about it in that capacity, like, because some religions believe in eternal life, right? What if that is our eternal life, is we just move to another timeline and you just keep moving timelines, but sometimes they can bleed over and you can have those experiences.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. All right, guys, we got a ghost hunter on the show today, Kalani, all the way from UK, right?
No, I'm from Nashville.
Okay.
But I've been in the UK so much because I do food reviews in the UK. I'm like famous for food reviews in the UK, and then I do ghost hunting here as a successful ghost hunter as well.
Wow, what a combination.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah, those are like two really fun things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Which do you lean towards?
It really just depends. I mean, I'm always eating, right? We always got to eat. So like that one's more of a necessity that I get to film. But the ghost is like my passion project.
Okay. Why'd you choose Nashville? Because thinking in terms of food, that's not really like top 5 in the country, right?
Well, no. So Nashville is where I'm from. Like that's where I was raised. I was born in Vegas, and then I've lived in Nashville my entire life. But I posted one random video in the UK about me eating food, and it took off in the UK.
What was the video?
It was me eating one of their Sunday roasts. Yeah. And I wore my hat inside of the restaurant, which here, it's not really that big of a deal. But in the UK, let me tell you, these folks were pissed.
What?
So my comment section is filled with like, this guy is a piece of shit.
Oh, it's like an insult.
Off. Yes.
I wonder why.
So that catapulted it. Well, it's old manners. It's a lot of the etiquette that I just was not raised with.
Yeah, right? I never would have thought of that, to be honest.
But I started posting more and more videos, and then in a span of about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I had 55 million views.
Damn.
Off of just eating food in the UK.
That's crazy. And then from there, you started the ghost hunting videos?
No, so I started ghost hunting 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
The food just came about last month.
Interesting. And what compelled you to get into ghost hunting?
I saw a ghost when I was 11, which
at your house, or?
No, I was at a battlefield, a Civil War battlefield in Tennessee on a Boy Scout campout. And I'm tipping people's tents. So I'm like zip tying their tents closed and pulling the poles out and like taking off running. And we're running through this trail. It's 3 o'clock, probably about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I stumbled across a drummer boy, which I didn't think it was a ghost when I first encountered this kid. I thought it was a reenactor because all the reenactors were in town because the next day was one of the anniversaries of the battle. So I'm talking to this kid thinking he's a reenactor. And like he briefly mumbles to me and essentially said, "Y'all be safe." And then I watch him walk by and then it just dissipates. So I was with somebody else too. And I was not on drugs. I was 11. I mean, I guess you could be on drugs at 11, but I wasn't. And that was the moment that like sold it for me that there's something else out there that I don't understand and I want to know more of. So then I started watching the Ghost Adventures, the Ghost Hunters, and kind of propelled me to start doing my own stuff as I got older.
Wow. So do you think you have an ability to talk to them?
I don't think I have any special gifts. I think I'm just a normal dude that has the desire to find something. But I think part of the problem is, or part of the journey is putting yourself in those situations to have those experiences. Right. It's not necessarily that I think I'm special. And I know a lot of people have certain gifts. But for me, it's more about trying to approach it from a scientific standpoint and not as much from the like empathetic standpoint.
Emotional, yeah. So you want actual physical proof, like on video, that that was a ghost.
Or just like with the time slip thing that we've had recently that I've talked about, that to me is starting to make more sense, like from a logical standpoint, rather than like if I go murder you outside, why are you going to stay here? Like you're going to go spend time somewhere where you were happy. You're not going to come back to the spot you were murdered. Right. That's just my thought. So that made me think like, you know, what if after that experience with talking to this guy that said he was from the future, right? What if we're just interdimensionally layered on top of each other, so the past, present, and future are all existing at the same time, and certain environmental conditions cause those to overlap in certain points?
That is interesting.
And when you look at the paranormal from that sense, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, because you said you've had 3 encounters with ghosts from the future, right?
Well, so 3 from the future, and they were not super far from each other. But what's really weird is they only happened when I was doing these week-long investigations, like where I was living in a place for a week. But if you think about it, theoretically, if someone 60 years from now goes back onto social media, if it exists, they could see where I would be at this exact time, and I would be there for a week, which would give a larger window of opportunity to speak to me if they're trying to hone in on that window. So that's kind of something that I looked at. But the second and third time, we're both at a place called Madison Seminary in Ohio. But what's really weird is one of those occasions, I had my own voice coming through trying to get me.
What?
So yeah, it's really weird. You're thinking like, I can hear my voice coming through the spirit box, which for folks that don't understand, spirit box is essentially just like a radio that is sweeping at a super accelerated rate, and you're listening for things to manipulate the frequencies, right? So you're going to have radio feedback come through every now and then, but to get like sentences and to hear voice inflection and human tone with something that's concurrent with your own voice, pretty freaky.
Yeah.
So it was almost like whoever me was in the future was trying to contact me of now, almost like because he knew that I was looking for that point of contact. And the third time we actually ran a separate test, which this was all live. So like all of this stuff's on my Patreon. It's been on there for like a year, but I talk about it a couple weeks ago and then it all blows up. Yeah. But we do this experiment where I'm with my friend and we both write on a note a secret word and we hide it inside of this haunted location. And the theory behind it is if we hide it well enough.
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
It should still be there in 60 years' time as long as the building is standing. So I'm listening to it. We're trying to listen for these words. We gave ourselves X amount of minutes to find it. And I spit out the word that he wrote on this paper and hid it in the building. I had no idea what he wrote on the paper, but I said it. And like he was freaking out. He comes and like pulls me out of the headset. He's like freaking out because I had actually gotten the information that he wrote on the paper that I never saw.
Wow.
So that's like the moment for me that I'm like, okay, I really do think there is something to this, but I'm not an astrophysicist. I don't know how time and space can be empirically, formed on a data plot for that. That's just a little bit above my pay grade. But I think that's where I've really started to lean towards.
That's so fascinating because when you think of ghosts, you think of people that died hundreds of years ago, typically, right? That just haven't moved on, but there might be another side to it.
Yeah, and they could still be living in that time. And like, I think that's always the grandest question is, right, where do we go when we die? Regardless of where you are religiously, everyone has that question.
Yeah.
And I think thinking about it in that capacity, right, because some religions believe in eternal life, right? What if that is our eternal life, is we just move to another timeline and you just keep moving timelines, but sometimes they can bleed over and you can have those experiences.
That's so cool. I have an interesting theory on the spirit world and the dream world. And since you're sleeping at these places for a week, are you having nightmares while you're there?
I don't have nightmares while I'm there, but I do have really weird dreams. And I even posted a clip the other day. I had a really weird dream that I was a food critic in a different country about a year and a half ago, and I was a successful food critic, which at the time made zero sense. But I remember sitting on a tour bus in a place that I'd never been before, and then fast forward to a month ago, I'm sitting in Scotland, riding on a tour bus, and the exact moment that I remember from my dream, like lined up perfectly, like frame for frame.
Wow.
And I look over at my wife, I'm like, you remember when I told you I was a food critic in another country and I was famous and it made no sense? I just had that happen. Yeah. And that was when that whole thing just started. And I forgot about the dream until that deja vu moment happened. So I think our dreams are a lot more involved with things than we like to give them credit for.
I think so too. We know very little about the dream world, but there's so many meanings and symbolism in your dreams.
And have you ever had sleep paralysis?
Once.
It is the craziest ever. I had it literally probably 2 weeks ago. First time ever.
Wow.
And I'm laying in bed, and both my wife's parents have died. So like we've been dealing with that over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And I hear her mom's voice coming from the corner of the room, calling my name. And then there was 3 flower pots sitting on my dresser. Like I could see my room as it is, but it was like dark. It was like somebody took the exposure and just drug it all the way down. And like in the bathroom, there was like a shadow mass. I couldn't see anything in the bathroom. It was just like blocked out. But I could hear her mom calling my name from the corner of the room. And then one of the flower pots was just spinning by itself. I didn't see anything else. But like I tried to wake up my wife in the paralysis state. So I'm like shaking my wife. I'm like choking her out, trying to wake her up. And then she wakes up to her alarm, and I'm like freaking out, and she like rubs me, and then all of a sudden my eyes open.
Dang.
And I was like, I literally was stuck. Like, I don't know how long I would have been stuck in that state if she didn't shake me out.
That's crazy.
But
Did you
I've
astral
never had it
project?
happen. No.
Wow.
I've never had anything like that. But it was like I could see everything in the room. I could see my wife. I could see me. But I could not move a muscle. Like, I was literally trying to just move my thumbs, and I couldn't even do that.
Yeah, happened to me once too. I was getting choked out when it happened to me. It was scary, man. I used to have to sleep with the lights on. I used to think my house was haunted, and I just found out it was like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And that gave me so much relief because like a teenager sleeping with the lights on, like you're you're getting made fun of. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't even admit that growing up, but yeah, I found out a pedophile lived in the house.
Well, and that's a weird energy.
Yeah, very weird.
If you've ever met anybody that has been around that, unfortunately, I have without knowing it. But after meeting this person, interacting with this person, and then coming to find out later, you're like, that's what it was.
Super weird.
Something's off. I can't put my finger on what it is, but it's a weird funk that I don't like.
Yeah, you're probably good at reading energies at this point, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you move up in social media, you get pretty good at reading energy.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
I
you
feel
got to
like
see
you
who's
can-
using you and stuff.
You can feel people's intentions a mile away.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think in today's world, that's something that the more connected we get, the more dissociated we get as humans.
Yeah. Are you bringing your wife with you on these trips?
Yeah, my wife was interested in it, not in the capacity of like living in it for a week, getting
Yeah.
drugged to all these like insane asylums and tuberculosis sanatoriums, but she's the one that pushed me to go for that dream. And so like she does anything that she can to support me in that capacity.
Nice. And are you solo for the most part?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just me and her usually.
You got balls of steel.
Yeah, balls of steel are just dumb. It's everyone you want to roll with.
Yeah.
I'll go with the balls of steel one, but yeah.
Do you run into like other people there sometimes?
Sometimes a lot of the places you go, you can actually like rent them out.
Oh, okay.
Like it's not like you're having to like break into a building. Like obviously there's places like that out there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of haunted locations that have history and have reported paranormal activity that you can just pay a certain price and rent it out for however long you want.
Interesting.
So like Waverly Hills Sanatorium, right? There's probably like 16,000 deaths there. You can rent it out for $1,100 a night.
Why did so many people die there?
Tuberculosis.
Wow. So was that the heaviest you felt at that location?
The heaviest place I've ever felt is a place down in New Orleans, and it's from a super tragic story of 2006, but guy suffering from PTSD, substance abuse. Katrina was going on at that time, and he ends up cutting up his girlfriend and cooking her on the stove.
Whoa.
So I go to this apartment where it all happened.
Yeah.
And the original stove and the original fridge is still there.
What?
And I didn't know the story when I went into the space. But the moment I walked into the bathroom, it felt like my whole body was just lit up with electricity.
Damn.
And there's nothing in there to cause this. Like there's certain things that you can feel like electromagnetic fields from,
Yeah.
but not in this scenario. So I walk in there, I'm like, whoa, like that's like in your face. So then I asked the lady that kind of owns the place, you know, what happened here? And then she tells me the story. She's like, yeah, that's the bathroom he cut her up in.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But I'm not a person that claims to be able to read it. But it is weird how the more you do this, the more in tune you get with your body being able to pick up on weird stuff like that.
Yeah. Were you able to make contact with the victim for that one?
So that one was really weird because it's almost like whatever's there is stuck. And there seems to be some level of guilt there. But I have to be very careful because, like, something for me is I have an ethical compass when it comes to this paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
Because, you know, these people passed away in 2006. There's still people alive today that suffered trauma, suffered tragedy from those events. And I think there's a burden that comes on me to be able to tell their story, recount the history, but not abuse it in the capacity of I'm just trying to, like, scream and yell for ghosts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
something that I've really had to battle with. I just did a house in Iowa where there was a double murder in the house. And they think they uncovered a blood stain from the original murders underneath the flooring that's in there now. But they had something else happen in 2016 where a lady was dead in the floor. So for me, like I can cover the one from the 80s, but the one from 2016 it's just too close.
Too close, yeah.
So
I wonder if something like this would be admissible in court, like if you talk to the spirit and got some proof
yeah,
somehow.
I mean, a lot of people like to think that, but let's just look at it from like an out of box scenario. If if you go to a judge and you're like, a demon told me that he murdered this lady.
Yeah.
The judge is going to look at you like you need to go to the psychiatric hospital.
Yeah.
Right. So, I think there have been a lot of cold cases that I think have certain things have come up that have given them a little bit more to work off of.
Like a clue.
Yeah. I've heard of that happening, but I've never heard of like a full case being decided based off of because this stuff's it's a pseudoscience.
Right.
Right? It's very subjective to whoever's administering these tests. So if I wanted to make something happen, easy. But that's not why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it to watch stuff go off. I'm doing it because I'm curious as to what happens when we die.
Do you believe that when these ghosts that you're seeing die are kind of stuck there for the most part and they can't freely travel around?
When I first started, that's what I thought, because that's kind of the narrative that pretty much every paranormal show kind of touches on.
Yeah.
But the more I do it, the more it seems like there's things living in their time. So like when you go to an old farmhouse, right, at 3 o'clock in the morning, this farmer comes down his steps and you hear his footsteps. You hear steps in your house and you're freaking out because you hear something in the house moving, but no one's there. But he's just going out to the field at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I think with the way this time thing has kind of evolved, I think it's more of things are living in their time and they don't necessarily know that they're interacting with something from a different time.
Interesting. And I wonder what causes that portal almost between time zones.
Well, and I've looked at that. So a lot of times people look at water sources because a lot of people believe that certain water sources, especially fresh water, serve as conduits because of the energy that flows. You've got ley lines that also play a contributing factor to the theoretical approach to why paranormal activity happens. But I think there's some unknown answers that maybe one day we'll find out. But I just need somebody that's smarter than I am to kind of hone what I'm trying to do to further what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. That's what I like about you, though. You're kind of that next level up from, let's just record a ghost. You're being like analytical about it and asking questions.
Well, because, let's just look at the facts here. With how many years we've been chasing ghosts, how many for-proof 100% clips or experiences can you show somebody that will turn a non-believer to a believer? None.
Yeah, there's no definitive video evidence.
Like, if you're not in that moment experiencing it, you post that online, and like I think that's what a lot of people have seen with social media is like you have a profound experience, you post that online, and people are like, this guy's full of like what drugs is he on? Because I want to be on them.
Yep.
But it's really different when you're in those environments. But I think that's the next goal is I'm not out here to prove anything to anybody. I'm doing it because it's something that I'm genuinely interested in, and I'm just letting people watch it through my lens.
Certain people theorize that mirrors are portals.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
I've never had an experience where I think that could matter. A lot of people think Ouija boards are like evil, right?
Yeah.
I've played 10 Ouija boards at once on top of the world's largest Ouija board during a thunderstorm, and I didn't have happen.
Wow.
And I think part of the combat you have is like you have the horror industry of like Hollywood film mixing with like certain truths or believed to be truths of the paranormal, and people kind of just run with both. So like you look at like the Conjuring series and horror movies that are based on true events, but it's probably like 1% of that movie is based on true events and the way they happen. But I think that's part of it is it's all fear-based, which when I do my stuff, I try and remove the fear component because somebody that's analytical isn't going to go into it expecting to be scared. If I go into every haunted location expecting to find a ghost, odds are I'll probably hear something or have something happen where I think it's a ghost because that's what I'm charged to think.
Yeah, your subconscious will just kick in and tell you it's a ghost, make you believe it, right?
But, you're in a building that has tons of water damage, mold, and it's been deteriorating for 200 years, and you hear a noise, probably not a ghost.
It's like anxiety, right? If you feel your heartbeat a little, you're going to tell yourself to start freaking out.
Yep. And I think that transcends into anything, right? If your mentality is you're going to be successful, right? You jump into that, your mindset's you're going to be successful, and odds are you'll probably end up being successful.
Right.
It's crazy how much power our minds contain that we just don't ever really get to tap into.
Super powerful, yeah. You can heal your own body if you train your mind from disease. It's pretty nuts.
Yep.
Have you gone anywhere where there were satanic rituals or demonic possessions, anywhere like that?
I've been to a few places that have had reported possessions. I went to the Ram Inn, which there's supposed to be 2 sex demons at the Ram Inn. The guy that owned it said that there was 2 demons that were essentially assaulting him at night, and he
Wow.
slept with his Bible. But they had pagan rituals in the same place. But I think, again, part of the Hollywood stigma is you hear the word satanic and you hear the word pagan, and you instantly think negative. But you kind of look at the roots of it, and a lot of religions are culty in the capacity if we have certain rituals we do, we just call them different things, whether that be sacrament or whatever else. So I think part of it is you hear these like clickbait words, like you hear like satanic, demonic, which there's been a huge pushback in the paranormal space of demonic because it's just so overused.
Really?
And that's something that like content creators have been battling with, is people are like, you say everywhere you go is the scariest night of your life, and you said the same thing last week. So it's like, how many scariest nights of your life are you going to have? But, I just enjoy it because the field has grown so much, even in just the 3 years that I've been in it.
That's cool. Yeah, it needs to evolve from just trying to scare people to just what's going on here and what happened, and figure out if there's a next step, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the progression that needs to happen. And everybody wants something real in today's world. Like, if you've noticed, like the old polished Instagram pages where it was like the perfectly curated photos and the unrealistic editing, nobody wants that anymore.
No.
They want real. They want something genuine, because I think the longer that we progress, the less authentic people become. So if somebody can cling on to something that feels real, they'll ride it till the damn wheels fall off.
Love that. Have you been to the Zach Bagans Museum out here?
I have been in the museum.
What do you think of it?
The Kevorkian van is wild.
That's the murder van, right?
Yeah, the
that room
the
felt
suicide
heavy.
van.
Yeah.
That van, that place is that room's weird.
I went to every room, and that one's the only one where I physically felt different.
Yeah, that one, and I think the music also kind of plays into that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to say like the music in that one definitely kind of set the tone, and Zach curated that to have that effect, which I think is Zach. I mean, he's the best at what he does. No one's going to beat Zach at being Zach. But that museum, there's so much investment in it. Like, it's incredible, some of the pieces he's got.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was my first time. I actually went on mushrooms, which probably a bad idea, but it was interesting. I went downstairs. I was talking to that spirit box down there, and they were responding. And I was like, wait, if this is pre-recorded, there's no way they would be responding to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe spirit boxes are legit.
I've had some weird come through, and it's so the Estes method, you put somebody under headphones and they don't know what you're asking, because that's one way to eliminate some bias.
Yeah.
Is if you don't know what I'm asking, you're not looking for an answer.
Oh.
So that's one step that people have taken, but there's so many other things that you can do now if you're really trying to have that experience that shakes you. It like, because a lot of the stuff is just like really cheap Chinese part crap.
Yeah.
Like just 3D printed that looks cool.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the objects.
Yeah, like the REM pod, like I could sit here with like my key fob and make the REM pod go off. So like, and I think that's part of the combat as like somebody that's trying to be real, right? Your definition of real and somebody else's is two different things. But like if I'm sitting in the corner, like clicking my walkie-talkie to make this thing go off, obviously I don't give a shit about ghost hunting. I just want to make videos and have views, which is fine.
Right.
But I think for me, it's more about telling a story, because I love the history component too. Because I feel like there's so much history that gets lost because people just don't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jonestown, for example, in Guyana, South America. So many people don't know about that story. And it literally wasn't that long ago, but you got a guy that killed like 900 people.
Damn.
With cyanide Kool-Aid.
That's crazy.
Or Flavor Aid, I should say. And no one knows about it.
Yeah, I never heard about that.
Yeah, so when people say don't drink the Kool-Aid,
oh,
that's where it comes from.
From that?
Yeah.
When was that?
It was the 70s.
What?
Yeah.
It's only 50 years.
Yeah, but he convinced people, he moved from Indiana to California and then convinced all those people to move out to the middle of the jungle. And dude was on all sorts of meth, given like 24-hour-long sermons. And when a U.S. representative came down to get some of his constituents out of there, he sent his like bodyguards, murdered the U.S. representative on the runway. And then once he murdered the U.S. representative, he knew the U.S. was about to come down.
Yeah.
So he convinced everyone to drink cyanide Flavor Aid. And he started with the children because he knew if he started with the children, the parents wouldn't have anything else to live for. And you can listen to this final recording on YouTube.
That's crazy.
And you can hear the crowd get quieter and quieter and quieter because of the people dying from cyanide.
That's insane.
But everybody thought it was but there was actually people found with shots on their arm. So they were murdered. They were injected with it, right? And like that's the history that I want to tell, not because I'm like sick and twisted, but because if you don't know what happened, it will repeat itself. Right? History's bound to repeat itself if you don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've progressed so far as a society, but, you know, a couple hundred years ago, we were shoving stakes up each other's, sticking you on the highway. Right? So it's like, I feel like it's very critical to know the darkest parts of our history so that in the future we can prevent those things from occurring again.
Yeah, history always repeats itself, man.
Absolutely.
It's crazy how that works. Have you been to Pennhurst yet? I'm going there this year, actually.
I've been to Pennhurst. Pennhurst, it's not scary. It's actually really of an emotional toll. Because everybody there was essentially told that they were disabled, obviously in more negative connotation, but they were mistreated. I mean, it was just a super sad circumstance. And I think the experience I had at Pennhurst, I was playing tag with a little kid.
Really?
So I'm like starting at one end of the hallway, and I'm like telling him to go run and touch this REM pod. And he would beat me every time, which I think that's kind of because like I can't even see him.
Yeah.
But I was playing tag, and the impression I got was it wasn't anything scary. It wasn't anything that I should be afraid of. It was just somber. And I think the more you know the history about that place and kind of what those people went through, which that really wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
It's grounding in that capacity. That
is interesting.
Very sombering.
Have you ever brought a medium with you on any of these to communicate better?
I have, but again, I think part of the problem is I'm more science based, right? And if you're sitting here telling me there's a ghost in the corner that is there and I can't see it and nothing else is confirming that there's anything there, it's really hard for me to get behind it. But I have had this theory, like what if this time overlap that we have happen, these people are seeing other people in different timelines, but they think they're ghosts, but they're just things living in a different timeline.
Right.
And, you know, I've thought about that, and I have encountered a few people that, you know, they've told me things that they shouldn't know about me, or they have wisdom about things that they shouldn't know. And like, that's been pretty like eye-opening. Yeah. But I'd say out of 10, there's probably one.
Very hard to find.
Very hard.
I do have one that I know for sure, because like you said, she was saying stuff that I've never told anyone. Yeah. And there's no way she would have been able to look it up.
Yeah, like if you have those experiences, those are the ones that I would roll with, because it's like if you can't look it up online and it's something that you were ready to take to the grave with you, and they're just pulling it out, you're just like, all right, you got it.
Yeah, I feel that. What about the thermal cameras that apparently the ghosts give off an aura, right?
The FLIR cameras? Yeah. So FLIR cameras are interesting. I think they're probably... I like FLIR cameras because the thing is, if we're looking at energy, all of us have energy, right? Now, I don't understand why they always register as cold. I feel like they could register as hot too. I feel like it's just kind of dependent upon, you know, whatever you're dealing with. But I have seen some pretty eerie images of things that look like people that register as just completely cold spots. So
wow.
I think there's another thing called the SLS camera, which, do you remember the Xbox 360 Kinect cameras?
No, I never played that actually.
So it's like a body tracker.
Okay.
Right? So it has a LiDAR in it and it sends out dots to track the environment. But the resolution, like the pixel resolution of that camera was of a Motorola Razr.
Really?
And this is what people are slapping on like tablet rigs with the Kinect software saying they're finding ghosts. And I just don't really buy it. Because it's like, if you're telling me that a Motorola quality camera with a LiDAR is going to detect a ghost over everything else that we've had, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, that's too grainy.
Yeah. No, and then like anything that has a vertical orientation registers as a figure. So like lights, tables, leg posts, all sorts of misreadings. So it's just like, if you're looking to get stuff on camera, they're great to use. But if you're really trying to find something profound, I think you're wasting your time.
Yeah. Any dream places you want to go to?
Jonestown.
Where's that?
Guyana, South America.
Oh,
you got to go in the middle of the jungle.
It's in the jungle?
Yep. What you got to fly to Georgetown. That's the one I told you. The guy made everybody drink the Kool-Aid. Okay. That's it. It's Jonestown is what it's called. But it's in the middle of the jungle.
Wow.
But I also want to go over to a lot of the World War II sites, not even to make content, but just to walk into those environments and feel those spaces. Like I went into Anne Frank's house 2 months ago.
Damn.
And I remember reading the book as in grade school, coming up through middle school, reading about Anne Frank and her diary. But to see it in person and to see the bookcase that opened up that they hid in and like understanding the gravity of them being stuck there in silence for months on end, like being there in person has such a different impact on you than reading it in a book.
Yeah.
And like when I have kids one day, that's going to be something that I really reinforce. It's like I'm going to either give them the option to go to college or I'll send them on like a world tour for the same amount of time.
Love that.
Because I feel like I've learned more from traveling than I ever did from any of my college coursework.
100%.
Yeah, because like you can't teach how to talk to people. You can't teach being in those spaces. You can read about all of this stuff in a book all you want, but until you actually do it, it has no value.
Yeah. Traveling's so important, man, because there's people that never leave their own hometown.
Nope. And then their scope of understanding is very, very limited.
Yeah, it's minimal.
And you see that even with like political stuff.
Yeah.
Is people usually listen to what their parents told them or whoever they're sleeping with at that time. And that's what they roll with for the rest of their life. And they don't ever have independent thoughts or any kind of analysis of why they believe what they believe.
That was me for 23 years.
Yeah.
Democrat, because that's all I knew. I thought Republicans were evil. Then I left the house.
Yeah. And then you leave the house and you're like, wait a minute, I got to pay taxes now.
You ever get super scared before any of your tours, or are you kind of level-headed?
No, I'm so chill now. I had something run at me.
What?
I couldn't see it, but I could hear the steps. I could feel the wind. I thought there was somebody in the house with me, but I could feel this thing running at me in the dark, and there's nothing there. And I had 2 camera angles. It's just me and my wife in here. And you know it's a genuine reaction too, because my wife is sitting there, and she was filming for me. And you just watch the camera, and it's just shaking.
Wow.
Because she's like Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
But I literally jumped out of the way because I thought I was about to get tackled, and there was just nothing there.
Crazy.
And that's not like something bumping in a closet or something falling, but something literally running at you. And I thought I was about to get hit.
Where was that?
It was a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky.
Wow. So you go to like random spots.
The random spots, the one of ones, like I'm the first person to go in and investigate, are the best ones. I feel like if you look at it from an energy standpoint, if we send 10,000 people into Waverly Hills, if there are ghosts and they need energy to communicate, you're the 10,000th and one. So why the hell are they going to talk to you?
They're going to be drained.
Yeah. Or they just may not want to talk because they have that ability. But you go somewhere where no one's ever been and they may not know how to communicate. I think it's weird because it's like they learn how to do it better. Like they learn how to use the equipment. And this is where it's kind of like I'm trying to theorize how this lines up with the time stuff. But the one-of-one places, like the ones I'm the first person to go in, hands down the craziest you'll see.
Wow.
Or residential stuff. If you go into people's houses that actively live there, that's where you get the crazy demonic, like I think actually real kind of possession. But like it's crazy because I've got a lot of friends that do a lot of hardcore drugs and they start seeing like crazy and it's weird how they have this impressionability in these seduced states, and they have, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways to categorize a demon. I think all of us have demons in some capacity, but it's really weird how some of my buddies that have done like LSD and are like, yeah, dude, I start seeing stuff and this is not a good trip anymore.
They say that with DMT too. A lot of people report seeing aliens or entities.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe there's something to that. I don't know, but it is weird how you kind of alter your chemical makeup at that moment, and all of a sudden you start seeing stuff you would normally see.
There must be, because it's people from all over the globe that don't talk to each other seeing the same alien. I mean, that's not a coincidence.
Yeah, like all our brains aren't connected that way.
Yeah. Well, maybe they are. Maybe we're all connected.
Maybe we're all just like a...
There's a theory that we're all like part of one soul, one group.
Maybe there's somebody playing like an Xbox, and this is like GTA 6 for them.
The more you look into the simulation theory, the more it makes sense. I know like we made fun of it growing up, but like...
Well, I need my simulator to make me some more damn money.
Numerology, you believe in that?
I've had some weird... I had somebody do my numerology for me. I don't know. Here's my thing with astrology. It's really hard for me because I feel like a lot of the insight it gives you could apply to anybody.
It's broad.
It's very broad. It's just like a psychic reading. They use very broad nets to catch you. But, you know, this is a bad saying because I do believe in some of it, but I always tell people if you look to the stars for answers, just look up your insight. But, you know, there is some truth to it, but I have had experiences where things that are very specific to me only have lined up, and I've kind of backed off of not believing in any of it as much. And I do think there's some things out there that I can't explain that are valuable to know.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of charlatans. It's a tricky space to navigate.
One
Really
is
is.
with social media, with how
Just
much
with the
influence you have.
psychics and with everything.
You can literally go on there and say the sky's blue, and you could convince 10,000 people the sky's blue.
Yeah.
Or you could say it's purple.
Flat Earth theory.
Yeah, no one's going to argue with you.
I mean, these flat earthers, man, they're wild. Getting millions of views on there.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Flat Earth.
I don't know about it. Yeah. I mean,
I've never been to where I could see it
yeah.
curve.
So we can't speak from experience. It's all what we believed growing up was taught to us. Is that true?
Yeah.
And a lot of it wasn't. So then you got to take a step back and think, was that one of the things that wasn't true?
I don't know. I feel like that'd be a really hard one to cover up with how many people have gone to like the space station and stuff.
Be a very tough one. Yeah.
That's a pretty hard NDA to get them to sign.
Yeah. Antarctica is another interesting one.
Yeah, I would like to go to Antarctica.
That'd be cool.
I want to go to, this sounds crazy, but I want to go to like the Middle East to just see the impact of everything that's happened there. There's a guy on YouTube called Bald and Bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Dude is like my idol. Like he'll ride around with like the Taliban.
What?
Like he does crazy and he just films it on just like a simple Sony camera.
Wow.
But what I love about it is just the storytelling component. Like he literally is doing what I love to do, which is you just put yourself in the most immersive situation as possible. Sometimes it's dangerous.
Yeah.
But that's what makes the best stories. And for me, like I want every piece of content that I make when my kids come after me one day and they want to know how dad was, they don't have to ask me or anybody else. They can literally just click it on and my whole life will be laid out in front of them.
That'd be cool. There's this one dude, I forgot his name, but he would go to the most dangerous places in the world. I think he just got captured like
Yikes.
a year ago.
Don't tell me that.
But
I hope my wife doesn't need to listen to this. She's the one that's always like, you don't need to do that.
yeah, there's a fine line. I mean, he was literally going to like the most dangerous places in the world.
Yeah. I mean, you play with fire enough, you will get burned eventually.
Yeah. Fate.
But it is kind of fun as, you know, it's content creators, like you have two different courts really. Like you look at like the clickbait side where you're like staging, running people down in the mall and all that like streamer.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other people that are doing like Mr. Beast level stuff, which is just crazy. But I think you've seen so much, everyone's just trying to one up what they've already done that we're just doing like radical. And where does the line get drawn?
Yeah, it gets dangerous, man. And I see it even with the podcast, even though it's just people talking, but it's like, oh, I need to do controversial takes and stuff. But it's like, let's just chill out.
Yeah, because I don't know. Sometimes it feels like people just start talking out of their so they can get some clicks.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Just be real, I think. Be authentic. People can see through the BS these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dude, it's been fun. Anything you want to promote or close off with?
All my socials, Kalani Ghost Hunter on every platform. I put out a YouTube video every week, and I'm very active on everything.
Cool. We'll have to hit up a restaurant together. I'm a food reviewer in Vegas.
Well, so we'll have to do a restaurant, and then I'll have to take you ghost hunting somewhere.
Let's do it.
Let's
I'm
do
down.
it.
All right, guys. We'll post that on YouTube one day. Otherwise, stay tuned.